Hey, welcome back to another HVAC Success Secrets Revealed with Thaddeus and Evan. It was only me today, as Thaddeus is on a beach somewhere, but we had a fantastic conversation today with Dominic Rubino. He is the lead host of Profit Tool Belt, as well as the business owner of 10X Built. He's a coach, he's a mentor, he's a leader, he's a thought provoker in the industry. We got into some deep conversations today about the tools that you need to run your business as a home service business owner. Dom, what were some of your favorite nuggets from this episode?
Oh, you know what? We actually went off on a surprising rant when you asked me, what does it take to go out on your own? And what does it take to succeed? I thought that was pretty good.
That was a fun conversation, especially as a technician, someone who's aspiring to be a business owner
Yeah.
and what it takes to do that.
And what it takes to do that. Yeah. And then we had lots of great conversations around existing business owners and leveling up, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not supposed to be hard.
No.
It feels hard
Yeah.
or impossible.
Because it's well, and this is something that I love from you is taking the complex and making it simple, right? But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy.
Yeah. Right? Push-ups are simple.
Yeah.
Are they easy?
Not always.
Not always. When you get to 11.
Depends how much you ate last night.
Yeah. Yeah. My belly's on the floor. I must be doing them right.
Right?
Um,
Close enough.
Yeah, I really appreciated actually your the amount of mindset content, like how much we talked about mindset, because that's overlooked by a lot of people. They think it's, read a book, do a thing. But I appreciated the approach you took where you came at it from that business owner mentality. Okay, how do I have to think? What do I need to do differently? Or how do I have to approach things differently?
Well, there's a mentor that I love, Keith Cunningham, and he wrote a book called The Road Less Stupid. And the key concept of the book is thinking time and just pausing and taking time to think about what it is that we need to do or why it is that we need to do it or how we need to behave in order to have what it is that we want to have. And it's often so overlooked. And Dave Ramsey says it best: the problem with my money is the idiot that I shave with every morning. And it's true. I mean, us as business owners, we are the bottleneck. We are our superpower that got us to where we are right now will eventually become our kryptonite to keep us from getting to where we want to go. And a lot of what we got to today was exactly touching on that part.
So if you're a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa, and you want to start teaching the kids in your family to think a different way, to have that success mindset, there's a book by Dr. Seuss, and it's called Oh, the Places You'll Go. So I'm going to say that you're a grandpa because I can relate to that. Let's say you've got a granddaughter or grandson. You're going to buy them that book, and then you're going to read it to them for sleepy time. Grandpa's going to read you Oh, the Places You'll Go. That book by Dr. Seuss is about thinking the big thinks. You're going to love it.
Read that to my kids every night till they were probably about 3, and then they got sick of hearing
Yeah. Go read it. You read it now. How old are they now?
We got 12, 10, and 8. So
read it to them tonight. See what they say, Dad. And then they'll
happens.
snuggle in and they'll
Right.
love it.
Absolutely. But we want to hear from you, the listeners, as well. So leave a comment down below what your favorite part of this episode was. Make sure you click like and subscribe as well. And now a quick word from our sponsors. We wouldn't have the show if it wasn't for our sponsors. So we're going to dive into that really quick as well. We've got CHIIRP, we've got Elite Call, and we have got On Purpose Media. So for CHIIRP, transform your home service business with CHIIRP. They are the ultimate automation toolbox. Capture more leads, connect instantly, and skyrocket your sales. CHIIRP integrates seamlessly with platforms like ServiceTitan and House Call Pro, which is a huge advantage when you're trying to do any rehash programs, automated text messaging, review follow-ups, ringless voicemails, boosting your Google reviews. All of these are incredibly important for your business. So schedule your demo and get an exclusive 25% off when you use this link here, chirp.com/HSSS. HSSR, there's just 2 S's, chirp with 2 I's.com/HSSR. And we have Elite Call. Elite Call is a US based, which is incredibly important when you've got people making calls for you. Call center champion for the home service industry for over 20 years. Elite Calls have been doing outbound for client databases, filling up your dispatch boards with lucrative service and sales opportunities, boosting memberships like no other. Just talked to a contractor the other day, turned off all of their marketing, only did outbound down in Florida, and had a record month in January in Florida just by doing outbound. It's incredibly important for your business. With Elite Call, their dedicated teams don't just make calls, they directly integrate the appointments into your CRM, giving you seamless experience. Don't let your competition get ahead. Let Elite Call contact your customers first. Visit elitecall.net in order to reach out to them. And we have On Purpose Media. We do ads, we do PPC, we do websites. I don't have a web readout pulled up for us. We absolutely love working with the trades. It's been all we've done for the last 4 years. I was a comfort advisor before getting into this. And the reason we started this company was solely to help more companies drive leads into their business, grow their bottom line, and increase their profits. So if you want to check us out, visit onpurposemedia.ca for more information on that. And now for an uninterrupted episode with Dominic.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, a show where we interview industry leaders and disruptors, revealing the success secrets to create and unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Now your hosts, Thaddeus and Evan.
Dom, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Fan-freaking-tastic.
I'm pumped. I'm honored to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're honored to have you. I'm honored to have you. Thaddeus is on a beach, enjoying some quiet time with his family, which is much needed. So he says. Maybe he's stuck at an airport somewhere. That would be great too.
That's the kind of thing friends say to each other.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'll take my trip sometime in the spring, maybe. But I'm super excited for this conversation. I know we had a great time coming on your show and chit-chatting a little bit around marketing and how contractors can get the upper edge when it comes to reaching more people, getting their message out there. Excited for this conversation today, though, diving into the coaching side of things and the operational side of things when it comes to running a business. Because at the end of the day, and it's funny, there was a Facebook post put out just the other day by someone, and they said product without marketing is a failure, essentially. Yeah. And the amount of marketers that chimed into that and just said, yeah, but if it wasn't for good operations, then no marketing can save that either. And it was just so funny. So many of them come into bat on the flip side of it. But it is a true partnership between the two. So I want to start at the beginning, though. What was it that brought you into the trades, working with contractors? Why was that something that was so important to you?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to sound pretty basic, but I think my people were brought to this country to lift heavy things. Like, I'm Italian. We came over here as tradespeople, and we, if you're around my kitchen table, or if we went to anybody else's house, all of my uncles are in trades. Right. My dad was a journeyman fabricator, so a welder. But I guess it was my uncle. I started working for him as a framer when I was in high school, like regular 2x4 framing. And there's something I like about it. There's something I hated about it too. Working outside on the West Coast.
Yep.
You're holding up a wall. It's raining outside. The water's going in your left sleeve and it comes out your right boot. That part I didn't like. But then I went on to have a couple of my own trades businesses as well. And so I just, I like making my own opportunities. How's that for a summary?
Well, and that's when we think of a lot of the people that we work with, that we speak to at the show, that we hear back from the show. That's why they started their business in the first place. That's why they got into the trades as well. They liked working with their hands. They needed something, an outlet that wasn't in school. Yeah. I was a terrible student in school, and I run into a lot of contractors who that was the same thing. It doesn't mean they're not intelligent. They're incredibly intelligent. To be able to do what they do is remarkable. But yeah, it's being able to work outside and do things.
And this goes right back to why we have a problem in trades around hiring or recruiting. Why kids aren't growing up with their parents saying you should go into HVAC. When on the rare occasions I walk through the mall with my son, so Christmas was just a couple months ago, the escalator was down, and so I do this every time I see it. I'm like, hey, I wonder if you ever thought about doing escalator repair? That looks interesting. Right? Because I want them to understand there's other opportunities. Not everybody has to be a programmer or a pharmacist or, do what you love. really do what you love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, life's too short. And if you do love working with your hands, go work with your hands. It's a great feeling at the end of the day to see. What do I have? I now work at a desk. At the end of the day, my desk is one of two things, messy or clean. That's it.
Yep.
But when you go build something or fix something or repair something, you're like, hey, that was hard. And I did it. I was clever enough to do it. You know, that I like that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to, for anyone that hasn't listened to your show, which by the way, I highly recommend everyone go check it out. Profit Tool Belt. It's on iTunes. It's everywhere. The thing that you were talking about in the episode you released just yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Healthy, wealthy,
wise.
and
wise.
Right.
Yeah.
And then not just diving into that. And I loved how you set it up too. And I wish I had pulled up a screenshot of the grid so that I could show everyone, but it was healthy, wealthy, wise across the top, personal.
Yep. Family,
business.
and then business across on the rows.
Yes.
Yeah. The left-hand column, if you will.
I love the priority of it. And I wanted
you noticed that.
Absolutely. I wanted you to walk through it because it's funny because we just talked about this with our team just this week on priority of your schedule and everything else. So I want you to walk through what is the healthy, wealthy, wise grid? Why is it important in goal setting? Why is it important to start the way that you start?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you listened to that. You know, ultimately that was how to make 2024 your best year ever.
Yep.
And it, you know, as business owners, we get paid from the neck up. We get paid to think the big thinks. We have to put things in place. You know, it's different. Our tools are just a little bit different. And this is one of the tools. Remind me at the end if somebody actually wants the grid we'll figure out a way here for people to get it from us.
You bet.
But yeah, so if you think about just a piece of paper in front of you, you've got columns, right? And so across the top, you got healthy, wealthy, and wise. How do I want to be healthy, wealthy, or wise? And then on the left-hand side, you've got rows, personal, family, and business. And I learned something from there's a guy I hired. He's just brilliant. He was one of our vice presidents. And he said to me one day, we're just finishing a trade show or something. He goes, Dom, none of us are in business for business reasons. We are in business for personal reasons. And he was so absolutely right. There's something in us. I haven't met the people who are listening to this podcast. I hope I do one day. But there's something that drives, can I speak directly to the listeners?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm speaking directly to you, listener. There's something that drives you that nobody understands. There's something that only you understand, or maybe you don't. It's in you. And so the family side is really important. That personal side is really important. We have to feed that because that will give us the business we want.
No, it's true. And when you ask a lot of people, well, what's your why? Why is it that you're doing what you're doing? More often than not, it comes back to the family. It comes back to, well, I want to leave a legacy for my family, for my kids.
Yeah.
I want to give them an upbringing that I never had.
Right.
There are the few rare ones like the Gary Vaynerchuks of the world where they were just a born entrepreneur and it just doesn't matter what it is that happens anywhere else in their life. They are going to be an entrepreneur and they're going to run a business, period. That's what lights them up.
That's
right?
me.
Like yourself.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
But when it comes to most business owners, it's about family.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to tell you, maybe the definition was wrong. I sold my last company. Can I tell you why I sold my last company?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So it wasn't a construction company at all. I had become business partners with a guy named Brian Tracy. And for people who aren't familiar with him, you've probably read some of his books, or depending on how old you are, you might have seen him on stage at the convention center when they bring in all the big speakers, Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, and Brian Tracy. So he's an expert in business improvement, sales, all of those things. And he had started a business coaching franchise. So people would come to him to learn how to be a business coach, a turnaround business coach, which happens to be my specialty. And anyways, he was looking to sell that business unit because he wasn't able to support it. So I bought that from him along with a business partner. And when I bought it, we had 6 locations. That's what we inherited in the purchase. But when I sold it, we had 237 locations around the world. So 237 versions. Imagine having 237 vans if that was your service company. 200. That's what I built. And then I sold it a couple of years ago. We had to, I got to make sure I go back to your question properly. But we had to take that message out to every single person. Why are you in this business? And then one day, some franchisees approached us and said, hey, we want to buy into the company. And I was like, well, this is fantastic. That's a dream, right? So I went home that night and we're sitting at the kitchen table, just like we, do as often as we can, having dinner. And my wife says, what happened at work today, honey? And I'm like, well, some people offered to buy the company. Oh my God, that's so exciting. Now we turned them down because we weren't ready to be sold, right? And then I didn't even think about it, Evan. I just went into my normal speech. So I got to travel down to San Diego. What I'm going to do though, is I'm going to leave Sunday night when the kids are asleep. I'll leave late. You guys won't even know I'm gone. And then I'll come back Thursday late. But when you guys wake up on Friday, I'll be here. I'd said that 100,000 times. Sitting next to my wife was my son. And he didn't say anything. He just shrunk in his skin. He just grew one size. You know how the Grinch, his heart grew 2 sizes that day? My son went the opposite. He shrunk in his skin by 1 size. And you said swearing's allowed on this show?
You bet.
Okay, so I don't swear on my podcast, but I'm going to do it here because this is the internal voice in my head. Rubino, you fucktard. What are you doing? And so I walked into my office the next day and I told my business partner I was going to sell because family had to come first. And I was ruining my kids. It's not fair. It's not what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
I started our episode on a downer, man. Sorry.
No. But this is reality. It's interesting it was Jim Rohn. He talked about, when we set these goals, these big goals for ourselves, and he was another friend of Brian Tracy's.
Yeah. Wonderful guy.
Yeah. We set these big goals. We climb the mountain. We reach the mountaintop. We achieve the goal, and we look around and we say, "Is this all there is?"
Yeah.
Right. When we achieve for achievement's sake and not for what it is that drives us, then we often feel empty at the end. When it comes to starting a business for family, and it was funny, we had on Michael from Service MVP. He was a plumber, ended up retiring at the age of 30 as a general manager. Yikes. Because he lived like nobody else lived.
Yeah.
So that he could have what no one else had. Right. And he was able to accumulate enough investments and assets so that he could retire at the age of 30. He did that because his family was tired of not seeing him.
Yeah. Your family wants to see you.
Yes.
This is going to sound, well, let me tell you why I'm bringing this up. I had to rename this company 10X Built. Oh, wrong. That's the wrong hat. I'm wearing a 10X Built shirt, right? So it was like, what's 10 BLTs? Is that a sandwich order? You just printed it on your sweater? It's not. When people talk to a business coach, if you had to guess what a business coach conversation would be, the first conversation, what do you think people talk to us about? I want to make
X.
I want to make more money. I want to make more money. I want to make more money. And yet that's not actually what people say when we are intelligent enough, me, myself, and my team, when we ask the right questions. What they want is they want to drive a newer boat on a nicer lake towed by a nicer truck. They want boat lake truck. They want what they can do. And all of boat lake truck is with their family. They want to go to the cottage. They want to hang out. They want time. They don't want money. They want to be a better dad or mom. They want to do service work because a lot of people are strong in their faith. That's what they want. Oh, and I need money to do it. Now we have the answer.
Yeah, it's not the goal itself that you're chasing. It's the feeling that the goal is going to give you.
Yeah, nice. Careful, I'm going to hire you as one of my business coaches.
Thad, sorry, bud.
Yep, I'm out. Mic drop.
Figure it out, bud.
There it is. Yeah.
No, it's absolutely. That's all it is that we chase. We chase a feeling, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a feeling of achievement and accomplishment, whether it's a feeling of more time, more freedom to make decisions, freedom how to spend the time, freedom of who to spend our time with. Yeah, that's what it is that most people are after, which is why I find it fascinating too. Going back to your grid, you started with personal. You didn't start with business.
It's what's your why? What drives you? And again, that you can't replace that. And we know that because we've hired enough people in our businesses that I can't replace that drive, that attitude, that desire. Some people have it and some don't, and that's okay. But everybody will sift and sort to the maximum of their abilities. But I would rather take somebody that's not technically proficient but has a great attitude. They might not be the greatest at actually working on a hot water tank or a furnace, but they're so good with the customer. They've got the right attitude. And then you've got somebody who's technically brilliant. They could fix anything, but they're an a-hole. Which company would you rather have? I would all day long, I'd rather have a company where where customers loved my people, or I loved working with my people. I didn't work in a place where everybody was technically brilliant, but socially awkward.
Right.
Attitude.
Well,
Attitude drives everything.
Absolutely does. And I can't believe I'm going to say this because this is usually Thad's line and it's starting to irritate me how much he says it, but people, product, price, right? And it starts with the people first, and the two offsets of people is the internal staff and then the external customers. And we need to focus on our internal staff first, because without great people in our business, we can't provide the level of service that it is that we want to our customers.
Yeah.
And even going one layer deeper than that and saying, well, if you had that top performer in your company, top sales tech, top comfort advisor, whatever it is for your business, they are bringing in the most amount of revenue, but everyone hates being around them.
And we all have that person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to cut off the arm to save the rest of the body?
If you're asking me, the answer is yes. And I'll tell you why. I can do it by math, or I can do it by just experience. And by the way, cut fast. Cut them fast. Can I step back and up from this conversation? Because we've done a good job of talking about the pain, but we haven't talked about any solutions. So if anybody wants a solution, there's 2 solutions I can put on the table. Number 1 is understand your worth as the business owner. It's the value that you bring to the world. And I know this is like, people are like, this is an HVAC podcast, dude. What are you talking about? But we have a number. It's called your revenue responsibility per hour. For those of you who want to get all geeky with me and understand the business coach terminology that drives that statement, here it comes. Ricardo's Law of Comparative Advantage. And that title sucks. But it is what we call revenue responsibility per hour. Now let's look at a service company that wants to turn around. The tool that a service company that wants to turn around and have better people doing better things with better customers, so people have time, so we run a predictable business, is a strategic plan. And people are nodding their head and they're like, oh God, I've heard this 1,000 times. Okay, then make a tally mark. This is 1,001 and I will keep going until I get through. Because a strategic plan is just downloading all of your dreams as the business. I'm speaking right to the business owner now, who's not happy with where they are and wants to get to the next level, but doesn't know how to get there. You need a strategic plan. You need something written down that becomes like the blueprints or schematics. We're going to follow this. So those are the 2 tools that solve everything you and I have been talking about now.
Well, and it's interesting you brought it back to that, because again, the title of the show is Uncovering the Tools to Succeed in the Trades.
Oh, good. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to start with the healthy, wealthy, and wise is it's the map for your business. It is the direction of where you are wanting to go. It's your goals, putting your family first, putting yourself first. Because if you get on an airplane, what's the first thing they tell you? Put your own mask on first before you assist others. Because if you're dead, you can't help anyone, right? So what is it that you need to do to charge up yourself so that you can give to your team so that they can go and give to other people?
Yeah. Yeah. So well,
it's incredibly important. Can we go deeper on the revenue responsibility per hour?
Oh, do you mean Ricardo's Law of Comparative Advantage?
That's the one.
Let's do RRH, revenue responsibility per hour. By the way, this is new language now, right? People should write this down. This is why you listen to the show or listen to my show, because I only talk about the business of the contracting business. So this has nothing to do with load balancing, nothing to do with thermostats or nothing. This has to do with the business of running the business. So yeah, let's hit it.
So how would a contractor go about figuring out what that is?
You need 2 numbers and you're going to do it twice. So I love simple systems. So the first number you need is, what were your sales last year? So let's just do the math. And I want to make sure that we do say this number respectfully. Let's say that your number was $1 million last year. Now, it's very easy to throw that number around, but only the people who are at 800 or 700 and dying to get to $1 million understand the skin stretching pain it takes to get there. Mm-hmm. The people who are already at 2 million look back on the days of their $1 million life and say, oh, so much easier then. So I don't want to throw the number 1 million around without the respect that people deserve for getting there. But it's easy to do the math. The second number we're going to need is, how many hours did you work as the owner last year? Now, keep your eyes on the road, folks. All of you are rolling your eyes in your head right now as you're driving, like, oh God. But again, if I like easy math, Evan. So if you worked 50 weeks out of the year, because you took off 2 weeks here and there, and you worked 40 hours a week, which I know people are now laughing, like, I work 40 hours by Tuesday, dude. Okay, but it just, you can do your own math. It could be 3,000 hours a year. It can be 2,000 hours a year. But if the model is the model. So if we do the simple model, if I did $1 million last year and I worked 2,000 hours, my revenue responsibility per hour was last year $500 per hour. Now, people are like, okay, I get the math. I kind of get the logic. I'll do my own numbers, but I don't bill myself at $500 an hour, do I? Shake your head. No. Do you want to take a stab at where I'm going with this?
Well, it's revenue responsibility. So it's the revenue that you are responsible for because you were the owner.
Yeah. Every hour of my day, every hour of my existence as the business owner has to be at that $500 level. So let's translate that into real world. If you're listening to, let's use my podcast, not yours. Yours clearly exceeds the number. If you're listening to the Profit Tool Belt podcast and you dedicate an hour, you must receive $501 worth of value or you unsubscribe to my show. How's that? If the carrier rep, and I'm not picking on carrier, I shouldn't have said a name. If a rep for if a rep for a certain line of product or service comes by and says, "Hey, Jerry, are you in? Can I sit? You got a minute?" And they come and they sit in your office for an hour. They've just consumed $500 of opportunity cost that you can't afford to give away. So that's when you have the right from your business coach. That's me right now. You have the right and the responsibility to say, hey, listen, rep, I love the fact that you dropped by. Going forward, we only work on preset appointments. I love talking to you, but let's meet by phone or by Zoom. And if needed, we can set a 15-minute appointment in my office. But time is important, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that's only, remember I said we have to do this number twice? So we just did it once. But let me stop there. Does that make sense? That's my revenue responsibility per hour. I need 10 guys, as an example, making sure they're doing $50 an hour work. Or I could resort it and say, I got to make sure $500 an hour is coming in and going out. But I'm responsible for thinking at the $500 an hour level. I'm no longer thinking at what would a senior HVAC, or you mentioned you were a comfort tech. What's a senior comfort tech hourly rate?
Their billable hourly rate?
Yeah, sure. You can give me, I was going to take it up there, but yeah, what are they making per hour?
What are they making? I mean, as a senior, maybe 40, 50. 40.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's say 50. Just say 50 as an example. So there you go. We've got one person at 50, but you're no longer that person. You can't think at the $50 per hour level. And even if I double their rate and I make them $100 an hour, you can't even afford to think at the $100 an hour level. As the owner, it's on you to think at the $500 per hour level, which is anybody listening to the show is doing that right now. Because they're looking for the next level.
Yep.
Okay, you ready for number 2?
Yep.
Sorry, I said number 2. If I was Chandler right now, we'd be giggling. I said duty. So now,
actually,
what I want
if you were Chandler right now, you'd be awfully quiet. But that's a dark joke.
That is a dark. Too soon, maybe. Too soon, but funny. Too soon, but funny. Yeah. Okay. So now what I want you to do is think about we're at the beginning of 2024 right now. What do you want the sales this year to be? So just to pick a number, let's say did $1 million last year. I want to do 1.5 million this year. So now you take your 1.5 million And you divide that by 2,000 hours. And again, do your own math, folks, but the model works. You can't argue it. Your new revenue responsibility per hour is $750. Each of us in the room has a responsibility. You now need to draw $750 in value from today's podcast episode. Oh, sorry, Evan. From the Profit Tool Belt podcast. But every hour has to be of $750 value, even though you're currently running a $500 per hour value company. That's the kind of thinking that changes your world a little bit at a time. Mm-hmm. That's how you become a $1.5 million company, because you can't think like a $600,000 company anymore. Nothing wrong with a $600,000 company. They're running a perfect $600,000 a year business. They're perfect in every way. They are the definition of a perfect $600,000 a year business. But if you want to be a 1.5, you got to change what you're doing.
Right. Well, and I love that because it follows the same premise of, most people, when they set goals, it's what do I want? How do I get there? The next level down from that is what do I want? Why do I want it? Mm-hmm. How do I get there? I feel like the best way is what do I want? Why do I want it? Who do I need to become? And then what do I need to do?
Yeah. Who do I need to be? That's right.
And that's exactly what this follows is I need to start thinking like a business owner that's making $750 an hour, or at least responsible for it, so that now when it comes to checking email, is it really worth my time to do that?
Yeah.
Posting to social. Is it not? Right? Following social.
Oh boy.
Scrolling through social.
Doom
right?
scrolling. Yeah.
Yeah. The conversations that you have throughout the day, the interruptions in our day. Are you intentional with what it is that you're trying to accomplish?
Right. And you know what? Having a simple system that you tell all the guys in your vans, this is how the back of the van needs to look.
Correct.
And railing on that until the back of everybody's service truck looks the way it's supposed to look, that is worth $750 an hour all day long. But not worrying about, what's on social. We need people to do that, right? We need to, it's, I suppose it's dollar cost averaging in a certain way. I'm going to hire somebody at $40 while I do work at $750.
Now, all of this is easy in theory to talk about. In practice can be more difficult.
Oh, right.
How does one begin to make that transition into delegating responsibly to the team to off more of these low level tasks off of their schedule?
I think it would surprise everybody to know that most companies are already 90% there. It's that last 10% that's tough. It's a bunch of small changes. So, working with the kind of clients I work with, we're not trying to hit home runs between every coaching meeting. We're just trying to hit singles every time. So just an example of a service company meeting that we had this week. Let me think back here. We've got a company, their major priority this year, of course, is to increase profitability per job. So they're looking at wasted efforts on the job site, which took us to wasted efforts in transportation, which actually then took us to problems in purchasing. Just a lot of go backs, right? I had to run to Home Depot. But it adds up. But when we fix that, I had to run to Home Depot problem, we fix our hourly rate in the field, we fix this, we fix the next thing. And like you had said earlier, we then become the kind of company that finds issues and solves them.
Right.
So it almost doesn't matter which issue you find and solve. You just become the kind of company that faces an issue, tells the team, hey, we're going to fix this thing, and then you go fix it. And guess what you do next after that one's solved?
Move on to the next one. Yeah,
you go find another one. That is my job as a business owner. And so it's just a series of small steps that become a habit. For instance, if you track your KPIs or your metrics, let's say you're tracking your marketing numbers. You guys understand marketing inside and out. Well, if I don't track my metrics, how do I know if I'm getting better? And once I start tracking my marketing metrics, I suddenly think, I should have some operational metrics too. And so you become the kind of company that tracks their metrics. You can become the kind of company that likes systems. And your customers see that and they refer you to their friend. Like, it's not instant, but it happens. And you can never go back. You just become a different kind of company.
Well, I want to go deeper on those metrics. But first, We've got one of our favorite parts of the show, which is our random question generator. This is brought to you by On Purpose Media. Why settle for a bland biscuit when you can get a spectacularly frosted cupcake? Contact us for a free marketing analysis on your website. Take a look at your marketing strategy, how you're showing up online. You can do that at onpurposemedia.ca/marketing-analysis. So go reach out to us there. We'll hit you back up with a nice report and at least give you a secondhand opinion and some talking points that you can bring back to your marketing company. So random question generator has nothing to do with anything that we've been talking about. You got 3 questions to choose from.
All right.
You don't get to know what they are beforehand. So would you like to see what's behind door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3?
Door number 2.
What is the most unusual food you have ever consumed?
Probably some sorts of wild game that I might not even talk about. I'm a hunter and a fisher.
Yep.
So I'd say that. But I'm also Italian, so we eat some wacky things. So to me, they might seem normal. I don't know. I'm pretty out there on foods. I'm pretty out there.
Some rabbit.
Oh yeah, rabbit, crocodile, kangaroo. Yeah, that stuff's that's normal. That's all standard. It's all standard. I'll eat it. I don't know. Oh, I ate ants in Australia.
Oh,
yeah, I've eaten
just
ants.
Handful of live ones, or
yeah, they just taste like when you squeeze them in your water, they get this really citrusy flavor in there. Does that count?
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's up there.
I ate a bug the other day by accident and I coughed for a bit. I almost threw up. But that wasn't like I didn't go to eat the bug.
Yeah, we won't count that. That doesn't count.
Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be something. I drank the worm at the bottom of a bottle of mezcal. Unfortunately, I didn't just fish the worm out. I got to the bottom of the bottle of mezcal first, and then eating that worm sounded like the greatest idea in the world. Not good.
We make great decisions when drinking
mezcal.
It is where the best conversations come out, though. So, cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Metrics.
Yeah.
I find that these evolve as you continue to grow in business, right? As you get from that $500 level of responsibility per hour to $750 to $1,000 to $10,000, the metrics that you're looking at continue to evolve as well. So let's speak to that business that is the $1 million right now. What metrics do you feel like they need to have a strong pulse on to allow them to become that $1.5 million shop?
So that is a very interesting question. And I want everybody to pause for a moment. And I want you to realize we're supposed to be talking about HVAC, but this now sounds like a shareholders meeting with a board of directors, doesn't it? This could be any industry, anywhere. And that's the business of contracting. Folks, you're there. We're having that kind of conversation. So thumbs up and thank you, Evan, for facilitating that, right? So the numbers are actually simpler than you think, and they're not your balance sheet and P&L. Now, anybody who's got an accounting background is angry with me right now. They're like, well, those are very important numbers, and this guy's an idiot. Well, you're right. I am an idiot, and those numbers are not the only important numbers. Those maybe are an eighth of the numbers that we need. So follow me with the life cycle of a customer journey. And do this. You can do this. If you're driving, don't do this, but come back and listen later. But I want you on a piece of paper, if you can, write down the following stages of a customer journey. There's marketing. There's sales. There's some sort of dispatch in our industry. Like we make the sale and then we've got to turn that into a work order, right? It's got to get onto the trucks, right? So we've got marketing, then we have sales, then we've got dispatch, then we've got field operations, whatever those are. So write those headings down, field operations. Let's assume that field operations is a nice and tidy unit on its own, whether you've got install crews or service crews. I'll just let you figure that out. But then after that, we've got the administrative things like accounting. You've got the billing / collections. You've got accounting in general, and then you've got legal. Okay. In there, I also want you to tuck a category called people. And you should tuck that people category before you get to the accounting section. This is at the most basic level. Now I want you to challenge yourself. This is the $750 per hour exercise. I want you to go to a coffee shop with that list. I want you to buy a coffee, your favorite coffee in the nicest coffee shop in your town. Go there, buy that coffee, face the corner, sit at a table all your own, put in your headphones. And next to each of those headings, I want you to write down 3 things that you think are interesting to track. So what are 3 good marketing numbers to track? How many calls we get? Good. How many emails we get? Yep. How many something else? It's different for everybody. Okay, now sales. How many estimates we've done? How many estimates we've won? How many dollars in estimates did we do? Just 3 in each. Now turn that into an Excel spreadsheet. Put that Excel spreadsheet on a shared drive. Assign somebody the responsibility of tracking that number weekly. And you, my friend, have the metrics of you can take that business where you want. At that point, I can't stop you anymore. At that point, the ball is rolling. You just got to keep it rolling. Doesn't that sound too simple?
That's the goal, isn't it?
That's it. I'm not smart enough to overcomplicate things, and I can never remember big words. This is how I pad the world around me. But we need simple systems. That's a simple system.
Right. Well, and so in our business at On Purpose Media, we follow a system and a process from one of those books that's up there on your shelf, Traction.
Traction. I love Traction. We use it all the time.
Book.
Yep.
Yeah. So we do run the EOS system, and we've got our scorecard for our business, and we look at it weekly. It's entered in there. We also have our teams, and we did just starting the new year here. So the teams are just starting to roll out their scorecards as well.
Nice.
But it's the best analogy that I got from that was if I were to send a 1-page report with 9 to 15 metrics on it at most.
Right.
And I sent that to Thaddeus right now while he's sitting on a beach chair being a beach bum.
SOB.
He could have right. We're both doing the same thing right now and drinking. So from that standpoint, we're on par. But he could have a full pulse of what's happening in the business.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And that's what you want in your KPIs and your report card, your scorecard, right? Is what is the pulse of my business? The one that I would add in there for most contractors is a call center metric, right? That step between the sale and the marketing where we're getting the call on the board.
Oh, from marketing to sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the only go between there. And it depends on the size of your business, but it's an important metric to know.
So, but look at the conversation we're having right now. So first of all, that's a yes. 100%, that's a yes. If you start to track that number, and let's just say that it's 12 every single week, 12, 12, 12, 12. You have to go back and ask yourself, is that the right number? Because the number should move. Usually if it's a quality metric, you want it to stay the same. But generally, if I see the number is the same all the time, it's not that I want to go change, whatever. Give me the word that you use to define your metric. Call center. What did you say? It was call center.
Oh, like their booking rates and getting jobs.
There you go. Let's say call center booking rate was the original definition. If every week it keeps showing up as 12, like 12, 12, 12, 12, I need to go back and change my definition before I remove the number. Maybe it's not call center booking rate. Maybe it's my call center booked calls versus revenue rate. But you can't get there until you start getting there. Right. And you get there when you make the metrics. And then one day, 3 months later, you're walking your dog and you're like, oh, we're measuring the wrong thing. But you're measuring. And now you can go measure a little better of a thing. And you become a company that understands its numbers. And that's why some guys make it look easy. They're like, oh, I run an HVAC business. I also have a pool business. And I started a software company. And you're like, you got to be a liar. And they're like, no. I'm on the board of the Philharmonic. And you're like, come on, man. How? And then you realize it's systematic. They run a business on systems. Yep.
The contractor that I was talking about at the beginning, talking about outbound calling.
Yeah.
He sent me his checklist of what they run on a maintenance call. And I was immediately like, oh my gosh, our operations director would be so excited about this right now. Because they love operating off of checklists, right? Anyone that's operationally driven, but any good business owner, even someone like myself where I am so not process driven at all. I will start something that I tried to take the EOS, like visionary versus integrator test.
Yeah.
And I got bored 3/4 of the way through and I just started clicking random buttons because I didn't want to do it anymore.
You're a
like, if
visionary.
that's not the prototypical visionary, I don't
That's
know
a
what
visionary.
is.
Yeah.
Right. And what was the other test we did? We did another test too, where it was talking about quick start and follow through and all of that kind of stuff. And same thing. Like, I got bored halfway through, and Thaddeus was like, well, why is your metric higher than me in this? I never would have guessed that. I was like, well, chances are it's because I got bored and I just started clicking.
I just started clicking random stuff. I got, yeah.
Right.
But that's not a negative. That's not a negative.
No.
That's
got to find the right seat.
That's right. Yeah. And so I love the fact that you can see a couple books back there. One of them is Traction. There's another one called Scaling Up, which a lot of people don't know about. So the first significant business I sold, I built it from 0 to 120 million in sales. And for that one, the strategic planning format that I used was actually from Scaling Up, because it's made for a little more, it's made for a company with multiple divisions and multiple vice presidents and directors. And, it's too much gun for the bear. If I can use a hunting analogy, it's way too much.
Yep.
Now, Traction, I love it. I use it all the time, and I used it in my last business, and I use it with all of my clients now, because it allows me to download your head onto basically a thumb drive, which is a piece of paper. Yep. And that becomes our boss. And so the accountability is there because we just keep going back and saying, what did Evan want us to accomplish? What was his vision that day? Oh, he wants us to hit this metric. He wants to take this much time off. He wants to live in a home in Florida 3 months of the year while the business runs. You could literally tell your business coach anything you want to do legally, anything you want to do, and there's a path to get there. Yeah. For me, it's got to be legal. It's got to be legal for me, but you can find other business coaches too.
That was always my favorite question of like, how do you know you got the right accountant? You ask them what 1 + 1 is. And if they close the blinds and say, what do you want it to be? You found the right one.
You found the right guy.
But yeah, Scaling Up, interestingly enough, Vern Harnish and Gene Hackman, that's where EOS came from, was from Vern Harnish as well. And the collaboration that they had there, which all came from Dan Sullivan. And it's coaching group.
They've consolidated information for sure. Yeah. Let me give a shout out to Vern Harnish. He's a friend of mine as well, but he also was a founder of a business group called EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, which most people don't even know about. There's a few people out there listening who went, how does Dom know about EO? Well, this is a message only to those people. I've been an EO member since college, when I was in the version of that called ACE, the Association of Collegiate Entrepreneurs.
Nice.
Actually, you know who was in it with me? If anybody knows the name Brian Scudamore, the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, Wow, One Day Paint, and You Move Me. Yep. Yeah, he and I were in the same chapter because we went to the same college.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and that's the precursor to EO, but only a few people know what I'm talking about, so I'll change the subject.
Around that subject though, have you heard of 10x is greater than 2x, the book from Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy?
I have, and you'd think I'd ripped off the title, but I didn't. Because this, my coaching company is called 10x Built, like 10 times your building company. And I have not read the book. So yeah, please tell me.
Fantastic book. Highly recommend it. And even the title, is intriguing enough. 10x is easier than 2x. But the idea and the premise is, if you just wanted to double your business, you could just do more of what it is that you're doing right now and you'll hit it. If you're trying to 10x your business, go from 1 million to 10 million, you have to completely reinvent what it is that you do and how it is that you do it.
That's right. Yeah. You have to rewire.
It's not just a doubling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a lot of what we've been talking about, which I love.
Yeah. There's so much of this that has to do with the mindset of being a business owner. And then the hard part is, as a business owner, we get pulled in a million directions. Since we're trading book titles, I'm going to mention a book that's old, but its age does not have anything to do with its value. A lot of people have read it, but you may have forgotten about it. It's called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. So if you've read that, folks, just put your hand up as you're driving. Or is it on your shelf?
I got 2 over there, which is The E-Myth Revisited. And I've got the E-Myth HVAC contractor with Ken.
Yeah. Yeah. He did a good job of spinning off, just like chicken soup for the soul, chicken soup for the children's soul, chicken soup for your pet soul. But I'm not going to take away from the book. The book is brilliant. The key premise that I pull from there is, and in the book, he's talking about a lady that runs a pie business and he's her consultant. But the challenge that we have as business owners is captured in that book. And the challenge is identified by having the 3 ways that we see the world. We see the world through 3 different eyes in our head, and it literally pulls our brain apart. There's the entrepreneur in me, and that's forward facing. It's very driven. You're in entrepreneur mode, or I know I'm in entrepreneur mode when I'm asking questions that start with, how can I, or what if? So how can I measure the metrics for my call center operations? Or what if we added this to our product line? That's an entrepreneurial question. That's only one part of your brain, and it's pulling your head, right? The second part is looking to the past, and that part of your brain is the manager side. The manager is consumed with metrics, which you and I talked about a lot here, right? Measuring this and that. And then there's a third part of our brain, which is the technician. And the technician is very, very reactive. It only does what's required today. The lowest value work we can do as a business owner is technician work. I'm not knocking any of our technicians. I used to be one. You used to be. We all started on the tools and we loved it.
Yep.
Right? Then you became a foreman or a super or a dispatcher. So you moved into manager, and then you became the business owner. You moved into entrepreneur mode. But those 3 things pull at our heads all the time, and it stops us from having the opportunity to focus on entrepreneur mode. I can answer things long. Did you notice that?
No, not at all.
I can take a yes/no answer and turn it into a soapbox breaking speech.
I had a friend and a mentor. He was great at that as well. And he would always say, and I think you should steal this line personally, and to make a long story longer. And then he would keep going for another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No, but it's like we've talked about, it's a way of reinventing the way that you look at your business.
Yeah.
And stepping into that role of entrepreneur is something that it requires a completely different skill set. It requires a completely different way of looking at life and business. It requires a completely different way of thinking and questions.
Identity. Because a lot of people, you just said the word entrepreneur. There's a lot of people out there that are saying, and allow me to put words in people's mouths, I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody in my family ever ran a business this big. My dad had an HVAC business, but he only had 1 van. I got 5. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't let anybody know that. I never finished college. I didn't do very well in high school. We're not making the money we want. And so that internal language eats at you. It really eats at me sometimes. But I have to find ways to overcome that, right? You can't go on the football field and say, I'm not a very good player. Let's see. Well, that O-line is pretty big. I'm probably going to get crushed. What if you said that? Guess what's going to happen? You would make exactly 1 football play before you were carried off the field. No, the D-line's got to go out there and say, I'm going to stop that big SOB, and I'm going to do it because I've got great skills. I know my blocking, my tackling, I know the play, and I know I can do it. And they just go do it, or they do the best they can. Yeah, but you can't go out there.
Fulfilling prophecy.
You have to go out there with the right mindset. And that's why people lean on business coaches. People don't work with a business coach because they're failing. People don't work with a personal trainer because they work with one because they want to succeed. They want to get to the next level, and they just want somebody to say, show me the shortcuts, keep me accountable, give me the tricks. Let's do this. That's why they would listen to your show or mine, or work with a coach or things like that.
Well, let's peel back the curtain here a little bit. We're getting in close for this. I'm a contractor, or not a contractor. I'm a technician. I'm thinking about starting a business. I had to go to trade school in order to become a technician, to get my ticket, et cetera, depending on what state you're in, what province
Licensed.
you're in, different requirements for that. But you had to go through some level of education before you could actually become a technician. There isn't that requirement when it comes to running the business.
No.
If you were to lay out a map for someone to start learning, where would you point them in a direction to start before they open their doors?
So we're assuming that they're already a licensed technician in there. state.
They're a licensed technician.
Province
They're working for someone else. They are ready to start. They want to go off on their own. They want to open their own business. Before they do that, what should they do?
The very first thing is start doing side work. You know, if you're able to. You know, don't use your boss's van. Don't use their truck. You know, you do your own.
Definitely don't wear their uniform.
Don't wear the
client,
uniform. Yeah,
where their technician was doing that. They called them to say, "Hey, like I'm having trouble with this. Do you mind if you help me out?" And he knew he was doing side work. He was very on the up and up. But my client was like, "Why are you wearing my uniform while you're doing side work on your own job?"
Yeah.
So yeah.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Right. So ethics is first. Right. The ethics will follow you the rest of your life. I'll lose money on a job to keep the ethics high. So start doing side work. And if you're like, I can't afford my own van, find a way. If you get blocked by that one little thing, you're never going to make it as a business owner. Find a way. Mm-hmm. Find a way. Right? As a HVAC specialist, you're skilled in many, many different trades, many different things. So there's other work you can do. But find a way, do your own side work. Start with side work. Get really good at your simple systems doing side work. Right? The other thing you can do is you can go and buy a company that's selling. And most companies are for sale. The business owner just doesn't know it. But you're buying a dead donkey. You're going to have to revitalize the thing. The best you can hope for is they've got a working cell phone number, which you need to get, a working URL, like their website, and you can buy an existing book of business. Now, this is going to piss some people off, but if you're starting a business and you want to be successful, buy a company that has existing service work, whether it's contracted or not. And the reason for that, some people are like, I don't like service work, man. I hate it. Okay, but I just gave you the answer. You do what you want with it. Service work brings me consistent revenue. Revenue puts food on my table and braces on my daughter's face. That's what I need. We go back to the first line in the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise. Personal, right? Why do you want to do this? So I can stop there, but start small and grow. And when you're ready to leave the other company, leave, but leave on good terms. Be a sub to them. Be a trusted number two. Be a trusted referral source. Be an asset to them, not a liability.
I love that. Well, one of the first episodes it was an early episode. We did it with Tersh Blissett.
Oh yeah.
Right. Great podcaster.
Yeah.
Great friend. At his business, Service Emperor, he was talking about how he had a technician come in, said he wanted to run his own business one day. So Tersh put his arm around him, said, hey, let me show you what it takes. Opened up his books, opened up everything, told him everything he needed to know about running a business. And as a technician, I feel like oftentimes we're afraid to step into that place and admit to our owner that this is one thing that I want to do one day, because we're scared of how they're going to react.
Yeah.
Because they might let us go.
Sure. And you know how long it'll take you to find another job? If I was a technician and I got fired from my company because I said I wanted upward movement in the company, I would walk across the street to the next one and he would hear this. Oh, Evan wants to come work for me. He's a licensed and skilled technician and he's hoping he can grow within the company. Yeah, you're hired. Put on this uniform. There's your van. Go. Like you got zero crossover, man. As a matter of fact, I probably need to change my answer. If you don't want to go start doing side work, grow within the company you're at if they'll allow you to do it. If you can move up into dispatch or into service man, like something else, but go learn different parts of the business. Work there to learn and earn. And at some point, obviously, go out and start your own. But yeah, don't, there's nothing that should stop you. People died for our rights. Nothing can stop you. There's nobody that can hold you back unless it's yourself.
Right.
I get charged up by this one.
It doesn't.
Somebody says I can't
keep going on a rant.
Pound sand. I can't. You're not. Don't listen to my show. You won't like it. I can't.
Well, and that comes back to the first point you made about finding the work, right? Being resourceful. And Tony Robbins did a TED Talk, and Thad would chastise me for mentioning Tony Robbins on the podcast because I used to do it a lot. But he did a TED Talk back in 2007. And this is early TED Talks. Mm-hmm. So Al Gore is in the room. Executives from Microsoft are in the room. This isn't your regular audience. And he asked the question of who here has ever failed before? And of course, them being all the snobs that they are, nobody raises their hand. Nobody says anything. He's like, I'm sorry. And he asked another question about, and he was making fun of him. It was great. Eventually, some people start to raise their hand. He's like, great. Why did you fail? And inevitably, everyone answers, didn't have the money, didn't have the right people, right? And then, of course, Al Gore, this is right after he lost the election. And he said, I didn't have the Supreme Court justices on my side, which was hilarious. The whole room erupts into laughter. It was great. But what it came down to was they were all complaining about resources.
Yeah.
And what was really the reason why they failed was they lacked the resourcefulness to be able to find a way.
Yeah. Go find a friggin' way. Go find a way.
That's it. When you have the resourcefulness, you will always find a way. Imagine if you've got kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine if your son or daughter took their first steps and you leaned down and looked at them and just said, you know what? Walking just isn't for you because you fell down after your first try.
Yeah.
Right? It never happens. We pick them back up and we tell them try again. And eventually they figure it out because they keep persevering to try and push through that. That's what we have to do as business owners.
Yeah. It's the mindset part that nobody talks about. And it sounds floofy. Oh, mindset. Yeah, of course. I got to think right. You leave this podcast thinking, yeah, mindset. But I'll tell you what, change the way you see the world. I need to change the way I see the world. I will not be stopped. You go and give it a try. I'm Weasley. I'll go over it, under it, around it. I'll redefine it so it works for me, but you're not going to stop me. It's simply not going to happen. And this is what we teach as business coaches is don't accept what you think you're accepting at face value. There's a way. You just haven't gotten creative enough yet. I haven't gotten creative enough yet.
There it is.
There's a great book have you heard of a book called The Oz Principle?
No.
So The Oz Principle is a book that was rewritten off of a University of Melbourne study from way back. And it's boring. It's called The Internal and External Locus of Control. So they had to rewrite it. Yeah. The internal. But this is winners and losers. There's a line in this world that separates winners and losers. Winners see the world and they act and talk in a certain way. A winner takes responsibility. They're proactive. They take ownership for the things they do. That's above the line. That's internally focused. An externally focused person places blame. They make excuses. They're negative. They're in denial. They're your mother-in-law. You said we could swear on the show, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But that person places blame. They suck the energy out of the room when they walk in. A person above the line brightens the room when they walk in. Who's on your company right now? Do you have a bunch of energy suckers, people who place blame and make excuses? If that's the case, it's still on you as the owner. But if you still go try to fix it and you've got somebody like that on your team, they got to go. They got to go or your business is going to die. It's your call. You have two choices, as you always do. But that's what's got to happen. But Dom, it's my brother-in-law. I understand. I have that conversation all day long because, we take inbound calls as business coaches. So, but again, nothing can stop you. There's a way. Let's figure it out.
Yep. That is the entrepreneurship way. Change. Yeah. I'll channel my inner Jim Rohn here. Change the way that you look at the world and the things that you look at will change.
Yeah. Don't wish life were easier. Wish you were better. I'm so sad that man is gone because he was a gentleman. I wish I knew him. Mm-hmm. I wish I knew him. He was just so wonderful. And I maybe he wasn't, but at least what he left me with was so good.
Yep. So good. Highly recommend anyone go check him out. Jim Rohn, fantastic individual. I want to make sure that we plug you. So for anyone who has loved this conversation, has loved the idea of the problem with your business is the idiot that you shave with every morning.
Never said
if
that.
You love the idea that, the reason why you haven't achieved what you wanted to achieve is between the 6 inches between your ears, then you need to check out theprofittoolbelt.com. You can search up the Profit Tool Belt anywhere where podcasts are. You can go listen to Dominic and his show. You can also text him at 315-903-7853.
Yeah. Any of those reports, like, you just talked about the healthy, wealthy, wise. So if anybody wants that, just text me there and say healthy, wealthy, wise. And then I know the one and we were talking about on the show.
Absolutely. And you can find the him on Facebook as well, or facebook.com/profit toolbelt. We'll have all these links down below. Definitely reach out to him there. And I do want to plug this one as well, which is the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/contractor strategy group. If you just search contractor strategy group on Facebook, you will find that as well.
Yeah. That group is just for contractors. There's no selling allowed in there, but we ask questions about, profits, pricing, people issues, just the kind of things we talked about here. And so other contractors are weighing in what they're doing or where they're stuck. It's pretty cool.
Love it. Well, Dominic, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you our last question. What is one question that you wished people would ask you more, but they don't?
I don't know. That's a crazy good question. What do I wish people asked me more? They should ask me why I have mentors.
Why do you have mentors?
Because I don't know. Like I'm still trying to get, I'm constantly trying to get better. And I find that when I don't have a business coach of my own or a mentor of my own, things just get soft. I'm not on. So that's one question. Because I think because of what I do, people think I have all the answers. I don't have the answers at all. I've got a lot of great questions and I have a lot of curiosity and I have simple systems, but I don't have all the answers.
Well, and you need that person who's going to challenge your way of thinking.
Yeah. And has the cojones to tell me, I don't know if you're looking at this right, Dom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And then when you look at pro athletes, the amount of coaches that they have outside of the head coach that the team hired.
Yeah.
The amount of coaches that they have, trainers that they have, nutritionists, personal trainers,
stretching
coaches, stretching coaches, all of it. Their body is their business and they need to take the utmost care of it.
Yeah.
Golf, the amount of metrics that they have on their swing, the amount of coaches that they have making sure that they're hitting all their metrics. It's remarkable to watch and pay attention to. But when you look at what the average difference is between the number 10 ranked golfer in the world, number 1 ranked golfer in the world, I think is 1.67 strokes per round.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And yet the earnings are 10 times.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think somebody said that as well about horses and races. Like the difference between first and third is literally a nose, but first wins gajillions. Third becomes glue.
Yep.
You're just gone.
Savage. I love it.
Hey, the hunter comes out. The hunter.
Dominic, this has been fantastic. I've appreciated this. I go big into the thinking way of running a business because that's what I know best. That's what I love. That's where I thrive. I've appreciated this conversation a lot. You were the perfect guest to have on when Thaddeus wasn't here so that I could go into deep spirals into this. Thank you so much for this. Can't wait to chat again, my friend.
Yeah, call on me anytime. I really enjoyed this. You have some excellent questions. Really good questions.
Thank you. It was a habit that I tried to work on a while ago, was ask a question when I should have made a statement. Appreciate you, my friend. Until next time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, 2 quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing, if you took one tiny bit of information out of this show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to introduce this to one person in your contacts list. That's it. That's all. One person. So they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.